It's me, the awakened brave. So this theme is about evil people. You see, I'm speaking about Jordan Peterson a lot because Jordan Peterson is everywhere in my feed because I've watched a lot of him, and I've watched all these people on the circuit, and they're all big buddies with each other, and you know, they're the ones that, you know, are out there on the circuit and apparently, you know, trying to pull the world to task and this, that and the other. And so, you know, I've got minds of their own instead of just copying everything. So Peterson's book, Maps of Meaning, which I've read and found exceedingly laborious, was a quest to discover the nature of evil. And he seems to be quite finalised that evil stems from the Cain and Abel story, where Cain killed Abel. Cain and Abel were the sons of Adam and Eve, apparently. Oh wow, it's going to get a little bit squidgy down here. But I've got sandals on if my feet get wet, like that dog, you know. I'm in it, people. I'm in it. So, you know when you're walking in wet, squidgy water, and a little bit of water starts to seep through, it's kind of and it's cold and it's squidgy. Well, there has to come a point whereby your feet get so wet that you accept it. Well, I'm not at that stage yet. It's going to be cold, wet and slimy and slippery and squidgy for the rest of the walk, and so I have a little bit of what can I say, resentment towards that eventuality. But I don't think there's any way around it. Oh, it's just a swamp. No, in actual fact, today I'm just going to go. No, I don't want that. And so I am going to go back. I'm going to take an alternate route and continue on my discourse of evil. So, Peterson is looking into the Cain and Abel story, and he's equating the world's evil stemming from Cain, because God didn't give him what he wanted, because Abel was the goody-goody and doing everything that God wanted him to do and advised him to do, but Cain had his own ideas and he went his own way, and then he suffered God's wrath. God wasn't happy with him, so then Cain got jealous and then killed Abel because of his resentment to God and saying, I'll show you, God, I'm going to kill this golden boy of yours. And so, well, I think it's pretty apparent that Peterson attributes evil to the human being, and so I don't think he's wrong there. And he doesn't attribute evil to the devil. I don't know what really his thoughts are on the devil, because he never speaks about the devil as such. But the devil is a construct, it's a human construct. The devil was never of any significant manifestation in the Bible, people. The devil was just a contester, and in the Old Testament, Judaism, the devil, the Satan, is a part of God. So, if Satan is a part of God, and we are made in God's image, then we have God's attributes, and so therefore the Satan is a facet of us. All in agreement so far? Okay. So, if God has evil tendencies, which are not necessarily so overtly evil and separate from himself and out of his control. No, it's not like God cast down, the angel, and he took mastery over the earth, and God doesn't have anything, to do. He can't stop Satan now because he's given jurisdiction over this dimension. No, it really isn't like that. That's just a Christian nonsense. What it's like is that when God did all the things that he did, which were very evil, in the Old Testament, and asking people to be evil, well, he was showing that evil was very much a part and is very much a part of him. And so now it appears that evil is very much a part of us. So when we look at this mythology, it's reasonable to assume that, well, if God and devils and angels and all these sort of things don't really exist, as existential things in their own right, then how do these polarities of action, emotions and things like that come about? Well, they come out of consciousness. And, who has consciousness? Or we have consciousness. So they come out of us? Yes, they come out of us. Well, I don't like the fact that evil's in me. I'm not evil. Yeah, you are. No, you are. Well, maybe you don't exhibit it, or you've never really exhibited it to evil. But look at your ancestors, people. It was very, very common practice for your ancestors to be exhibiting evil. It was just common stuff. And so you can't be laying claim to all of a sudden miraculously not being evil when all your forebears were. What you can say is, well, society is so modern these days, it's so constrained, it's so governed, and we're so tethered that we wouldn't dare to be evil because we could never get away with it. Yeah, okay, you're on the right tracks now, people. You're on the right tracks. So you're not evil because you wouldn't dare, because you couldn't get away with it. Not because you're not evil. No, you are evil. Evil runs through the heart of every man. So, in view of that, we look at ourselves and we go, well, look, all this stuff from these religions and mythology, it's all about human consciousness. It all stems from human consciousness. It all comes from the human being. It doesn't come from bears. It doesn't come from rats. It doesn't come from fucking pterodactyls. It comes out of the human being's mind and consciousness. So therefore, all these things are human facets and attributes and potential and all the rest of it. It is human, all too human. Like Nietzsche wrote, human, all too human. Yes, all too human, people. And, I've never remotely enjoyed when people blame their evil onto an external entity. Blame it on the devil. The devil made me do it. No, the devil never made you do it. The devil never was a thing in reality, and isn't a thing in reality now. But, you are a so-called thing in reality. And if you do evil, then the evil is yours, people. It's all yours. And you can't be giving the credit to an external being. Don't start laying that one on me. Yeah. So, now we've established that evil runs through the heart of every man. And it is human consciousness which has created all these myths and all these beings and entities. And even when we see things like in DMT and things like that, well, it is our human consciousness which is seeing these things, which is somehow creating them or acquainting itself with them. But they have to be within human consciousness, otherwise they wouldn't exist for us. Anything that's outside of human consciousness, it doesn't exist for us, does it? It's like infrared light or, dark energy or, dark matter. I mean, as far as we're concerned, they're non-existent. That's why they're called dark, because we can't perceive them in any shape or form. But when we look at evil, we have to know that we are evil. And this is one of the reasons why I put my horns on today. And at the back of my head, I have my tail. So I'm exhibiting my evil. And I have my horns and I have my tail, which incidentally are just creations of human consciousness. Just playwriting, that's all that is. Not even a glimmer of that in the Old Testament, nothing. So, when we embrace that, I think we'll be stronger for it, because if we embrace our potential for evil, then we would always keep a close eye on our inner machinations, on our thoughts and our actions, because if we did that, we could say, hang on, ooh, I'm getting a little bit evil here. I'm starting to have a few evil thoughts. You know, when we start envisioning to hurt someone, or to do nasty or mean things, or maybe even kill them, all these sort of things, and then wish death upon them. Ooh, yes, I'm really embracing my evil now. Hang on, I better sit down, better gather my thoughts. Is it the devil trying to enter me? No, the devil's already there. It's just a notion of your mind. It's a human construct. The devil is already there. It's potential, that's what the devil is. Now, I can speak about encountering such terror, people, that I could very easily attribute it to the devil, to an external force. And when these occasions have come about in my life, two in particular, I have wrote about that they were external forces, in a metaphysical sort of way, in a metaphorical sort of way. But I knew that they pertained to my mind. And you see, if we're going to speak about evil, then we have a symbol for evil. And most of us will say, oh, the devil, came and offered me this. Like the Faustian story of Mephistopheles, offering Faust, young love and treasures and all this sort of thing. Well, he took it and lived to regret it. But you see, these stories just reiterate a devil in the abstract. When in actual fact, I don't think anyone's ever seen a devil in the abstract. And so we can kind of like safely assume that the devil isn't in actual fact a real manifestation as we would consider you or I or the so-called physical world to be. So what is the devil then? Where does the devil come about? It comes about in our thoughts. Oh, so the devil's a thought. The devil's an idea. Yes, you got it. That's what Plato was speaking about 2,000 years ago. Everything is ideas and forms. Ideas and forms in the head, people. And that's how I see the world. I see the world with ideas, and I build forms. I don't see them, but it's not necessary for me to see a picture of them in my head, because I can describe them in every tiny facet of detail through my imagination, which builds the world. And so that's what we do, people. We build the world with our mind, and take the mind away, there's nothing here. So I'm going up higher. Now, I've been speaking in a low larynx, and when I speak on that level, it gets tight and tired. So I'm now going to raise the larynx to utilise a facet of my voice which I haven't used for the past 30 minutes. So I'm going up into another rung on the ladder, so to speak, so that I'm not using this sort of thing, because whispering is the worst thing you can do for a voice that is compromised. Because when we whisper, we think, oh, we're saving our voice, but you're not, because the vocal cords are not closing enough. They're just hovering in this nothingness space, and for whatever reason, that damages the vocals. So therefore, we have to increase the amount of air flowing over our vocal cords, and we have to have more traction with the opening and closing and fluctuating of them. So, right, evil people, evil. You are evil. Yes, you. You knew it. You really knew it. At the bottom of your heart, you knew it. Evil you are. Those of you that remember, I think it's a Mickey Rourke movie with Robert De Niro, who played Lucifer, Angel Heart. And Mickey Rourke, he murders this woman and does all these terrible things. And he didn't know he was doing it at the time. And it was only till he sat down in front of Louis Cypher that Louis Cypher pointed out all of his actions, and then he remembered them. And, Louis Cypher said to him, "You belong to me." Because he had evil and he operated upon his own evil. And so another metaphor then of an external Lucifer who had jurisdiction over someone. No, Lucifer, Lucifer's not the devil in any case. That's just bullshit. Again, it's all stories, people. Lucifer's the light bearer. Lucifer's Prometheus, who stole the light from Zeus and gave it to mankind. Anyway, if we accept the potential for our evil, then we can keep an eye on it. And so there's a quote that I put in my book. By the way, my book, it really is quite brilliant. I'll say it myself, because all these things I speak about them in my book. I speak about some very, very deep, profound things that the human being would benefit from knowing. And I always put this link in the description of all my videos. And so if anybody really wants to get into the nitty-gritty of astral projection, dream interpretation, the metaphysics of ontology, the psychology, the philosophy, a whole different sorts of stuff, a whole bunch of stuff. 15 years of my spiritual journey is in that book. And I think it bordering shocking for any viewers who have watched my videos with any level of consistency not to want to buy that book. £20 you can buy A Journey to the Self. £25 is Closer to God, because it's got about 46 more pages to it, because the print is a little bit more spaced. So anyway, within that book I speak about all these encounters. And so when I encountered what I have spoke metaphorically about as being the devil, well, let me broach that with you now, people, because whenever we have occasions of abject terror, when we are absolutely terrified, and it's not really you're terrified of losing your life, it's being terrified of being in a mental traumatic prison, i.e. hell, forever, and you can't get out of it. And some people would have felt this variety of trappedness when they have bad trips, because if they allow their minds to run away with themselves, if they don't like what's happening in their psychedelic trip and they fight against it, well, they're going to get deeper and deeper and deeper in that hell, because there is no way out. You are in the trip. So you absolutely must never fight a trip. You just must relax and go with it, whatever it's showing you. But this is what happens when our mind gets so compromised, it flips, and it flips into a realm of terror outside of the normal conscious state. It flips into a realm of terror, and this realm of terror has no rational application about anything, because the terror disconnects our mind from thinking about any rational thoughts. We don't think like, this is only going to last, a few minutes or maybe an hour, a couple of hours. I don't know. No, you just feel trapped, and then the fear is condensed into considering that this could be forever, because we've heard about these things being trapped in hell forever and ever, where the wailing and the gnashing of the teeth are, the fire and brimstone and the flicking of Satan's tail and his mocking and all that sort of stuff forever and ever. Whoa. Yeah. And so our minds, when they flip into this state of terror, they will be in this sort of place. So this is where hell comes from, people. People have done what best they could to put it into pictorial form, so people can understand it better, rather than explaining the human psychological facet of it. Explain it in pictorial form, in story form, because the simple person likes that. And so, but what's happened is, people, these thoughts, memes they are. Let me talk about memes for a while. You see, when we have a thought which becomes viral, then it becomes a meme. And when the meme becomes so powerful, it becomes an egregore. And so if we look at memes, just like a saying, a trope or something like that, and all of a sudden they're global. A new trope will go global within days, and this meme will gain so much power that the meme almost becomes physical. But I've never heard of any speak of memes actually becoming physical, and I've never heard of a transition between a meme and an egregore. So this is where the Awakened Brave's mind draws those connections, because when a meme gets so powerful, like, let's say, the idea of Jesus. Everyone's talking about the idea of this dude that walked on water and he rose to the dead and blah, 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 blah. Well, he's a meme. He's become a meme. But by the time so much human consciousness has been projected onto that meme then transforms into an egregore. And an egregore is an energy form which is created out of thought form, which eventually will manifest into a physical form. And so let me say that again. An egregore is an energy form created out of thought form, which eventually, having so much human consciousness focused onto that thought form, will then manifest into a so-called physical form. And that is in actual fact what happens to the whole world, people. So the egregore, like Jesus, like Buddha, like any of these people that we don't really know whether they existed. A few words, initially spoken about them, and then they're just built upon as the meme went around, you see. And people, chose one meme over another, and some memes have become so powerful that they're in everybody's consciousness, you see. And so Jesus is an egregore, and this is why I say that the egregore of Jesus spoke to me in my encounter when I had Jesus speak to me. Again, written in my book, and some of you may think that's absolutely absurd, but it's not absurd when you consider that Jesus is a conscious creation, an egregore, and the egregore manifested in my mind, in a thought form, a voice, and the image of Jesus manifested in a mural. Now, some people have had Jesus stand before them in some sort of apparition, and this has happened millions of times over the world, when their concept of Jesus has been so powerful and so believable. My concept of Jesus was never believable to the extent whereby I would consider or would be capable of manifesting his apparition standing before me, because I know Jesus just to be a Platonic thought form or an idea. So I heard the voice of Jesus and I saw the image, and then I had this incredible supernatural religious experience where my whole body was vibrating in a state of ecstasy, and tears were just streaming down my cheeks. And Jesus said to me, if you want to know what true love is, you have to come through me. And I didn't know at the time what that really meant, but having contemplated it after, then I realised, well, that's unconditional love, because Jesus is representative of unconditional love. Jesus is representative of the love that nobody on this earth could ever manifest. It isn't possible, it doesn't matter how benevolent or how Mother Teresa you think you are, it isn't possible for the human being to have unconditional love, because there are always conditions with the human state. That's all we are, basically, a conglomerate of conditions. And so what do we do? What does our mind do? Like Freud used to say in relation to dreams, they're wish fulfillment. And so what do we do as human beings, conscious? Well, we have a wish fulfillment, and we create the perfect human being, and we try to create the perfect God, and we fail miserably at that, because we always create tyrants, because that's how our minds work, in polarity. But you see, even when you look into the depths of Jesus from other writings, then you will see that Jesus also enters these polarities of what could very easily be considered to be evil, manipulative, and very cringeable. And I've spoken about these recently, and for those of you that want to look into that more, then I'll direct you to a guy called Amon Hillman, who speaks about what Jesus was doing in Gethsemane Park with a naked prepubescent boy on the night of his arrest, all these sort of things. Anyway, so the phenomenon of memes, which become very, very powerful, and everybody's consciousness locks into them, and they are in actual fact a very, very real thing, even though apparently they're not manifest. But when the energy gets so powerful over such a long period of time, then they do actually manifest into what could be considered as corporeal entities. And then they will manifest into visionary egregores, audible egregores, sensory egregores, all these things, because they all stem from our imagination. They stem out of human consciousness. So when we get a concept and our heads around things like devils and angels and gods and all this sort of thing, we can see that we are the originators of them all. They all come out of consciousness. And so when I say we, well, it is apparent that only human beings have this level of consciousness. And so I can say we because I'm speaking to you. But if we go over and above the fiction of the human being, then we end up in the realm of pure consciousness. So it isn't we per se, it's pure consciousness. Pure consciousness is dreaming absolutely everything into reality. And because we are sharing in that consciousness, then we have a sense of self. Then we attribute things to us, and we think we're the author of things. But in actual fact, we're not the author of anything, because we aren't anything other than imaginations and dream avatars in the mind of God. And I'm always saying this. And sometimes people say to me in the comments, you're too confident in your own opinions, or you speak as if like you know what it is and so on. Well, what I actually can do, people, is that when I offer you up a certain something, I can back it up with so many illustrations of so many things from all over the world through all periods, and a whole multitude of my own experience. And so if anybody has the right to proclaim that they know anything, well, it's someone like me, who has in actual fact experienced many very bizarre phenomena and has read an enormous amount about all this stuff, and I've put a thing or two together, and lots of the time I'm putting original stuff there. And so one viewer who read my book said, yeah, I couldn't find anything original in there. It's kind of like mostly Eastern philosophy and mixed in with this, that and the other. And I'm like, read it again. Because there are lots of things that I say that you never heard of before. And lots of people who've watched many of my videos through many years say, you've taught me many things. I've learned a great deal from you. But you see, what happens is when people learn from other people, very often the root of that knowledge is clouded over in time, and then the ego takes ownership of it, and so we stop giving the credit to anybody, because we think we are the author of it, because over time our minds conjure up some sort of origination, some sort of germination from these things, because it comes out of what we consider to be our personal consciousness. But in actual fact, all this stuff is coming out of our collective consciousness. And so whatever we are thinking, whether we're Plato, Aristotle, Nietzsche, or fucking Kastrup, or whatever we're thinking, we are tapping into the collective consciousness and the collective unconscious. And so therefore there is nothing original under the sun. It's all been said, done and thought before. But for people who are watching my videos, when I say something which I may consider is original to me, I'm just saying that fundamentally I can't take ownership, because who am I? I'm just one grain of stone on the beach of life. I'm the beach. We're the beach. We're not grains of sand. I mean, a grain of sand is a concept. The beach is a concept. And so, when you look at things like that, you break it all down, where you go, well, we're nothing really at the end of the day. Only concepts. But we use analogies, don't we? We offer up parables and similes and illustrations, because these things build our world. Our imagination, our consciousness builds this fiction of a world. The world isn't in existence. It's consciousness which is in existence, and we are avatars within the dream of consciousness. And this can be backed up by millions of people. The Buddhists will back it up. Quantum physics will back it up. People who analyse human psychology will back it up on many levels. There's so much to be said for this, because all roads, in actual fact, people, lead to Rome, and Rome is the mystery. Wrapped in a riddle inside an enigma, which is indecipherable and ineffable, and we will never ever get to the bottom of it, because it's bottomless. Because at the end of the day, it's like when you dream at night, and you're dreaming of you doing something. Well, if you wanted to get to the bottom of that world, if you considered it to be real, well, you could never do it, could you? Because as far as our consciousness is concerned, that's just a creation of the sleeping consciousness, because it needs to keep doing something, because it, in actual fact, doesn't need to sleep like the body needs to sleep. So it creates your avatar. You see, it doesn't have you to go and do stuff around the physical world, so it uses an image of you in your dream, yeah? Can you see how brilliant this is? So it continues with its dreaming and its fiction of you doing all different sorts of stuff in many places around the cosmos. You could be doing all this different stuff, and then when you wake up and come back online again, you grab hold of the baton and continue, allowing consciousness to explore itself via you. It all gets very, very complex, immensely complex. So anyway, people, I've spoken enough. My voice is now tired. This video is 34, the other one was, about 25 I suppose. So an hour again. And now I'm going to absorb. Now then, very often I've come up here to do DMT. I like doing DMT, like very high, closer to God, closer to cosmic consciousness, closer to spirit, I don't know, closer to the openness, closer to the sun, who I consider to be at least a God, the God of this world. Yeah, why not? It's the creator of everything, and it's blessing me, and it's loving me, and it's beautiful, and I love it. And so I come up here and I do that, and I see the world in a wonderful way, and I'm filled with beautiful neurotransmitters that flush my mind, filled with ecstasy. And I then feel like I'm a child of God. I really do. You really do feel loved, and you feel as if this whole world is just for you. Just for you. Can you imagine, people? When you enter into a state of consciousness and you realize that the world is absolutely a miracle and it's just for you, as well as everybody else. Now, aside from that, let me just speak a little bit about evil, because lots of people are stuck in stupid little thought form patterns, and they will be dismissing much of what I've said because they don't have the broadness of consciousness to be able to really take on board what I'm saying. And some of you may think I'm demeaning and I'm talking down to you and this, that and the other, but if you can't really get your heads around what I'm saying at such a deep level, then obviously you don't have the wherewithal, do you? You don't have the experience, you don't have the consciousness, you don't have the spirit. You don't have something. Something doesn't allow you to see these connections and feel these connections. And like when I'm speaking about, when we take DMT and we enter into this natural state of consciousness, which you can have without taking these entheogens, and I've had them without taking the entheogens, so nobody can take away, oh, that's just cheating, oh, we can do it in other ways. You can get it in other ways, but they're very, very fleeting and far between. Whereas every single time when you take DMT, every single time I've took it standing here, I get that same thing, and it's an absolute beautiful reminder of what is actually going on as far as my consciousness is concerned with this world, and it's very, very empowering indeed. But let's just look at the root of evil. It has to be a human construct, people. It has to be a part of what we are. It isn't a part of a sparrow, is it? Evil simply isn't a part of the sparrow construct. Evil isn't a part of a snail's construct. Evil isn't a part of my little fluffy Providence's construct. Evil just does not run through their hearts. Evil only runs through the hearts of human beings. It's a human construct, and we need it because we need polarity, because we've invented this stuff of right and wrong and all that different sort of stuff. Animals don't need the notion of right and wrong. They just are. They're just being. They're just present, and they're doing whatever their genetic evolutionary construct tells them to do on any given day. They know nothing about evil. The only creature that knows about evil is the creature that creates it, and that's the human being, people. So forget all about you silly horned beasts and all of this nonsense, and look into your own heart and your own mind, and you will most assuredly find the beast lying within, like a myriad of great thinkers have done in the past. Alexander Solzhenitsyn, for one. Evil runs through the heart of every man. When you have been in, let's say, Gulag Archipelago, when you've been in these concentration camps, when you've been in these work labour camps, where you've been put there for 10 years for the smallest of offence against the state, and you're living with your fellow man for that period in such close proximity, you will get to see evil running through the heart of every man sooner or later. It's just a part of our construct, people. So, you're fools if you deny it. You're ignorant and you're very silly.